Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another podcast on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee, and joining me is Sophie.
Hi.
We have Dan.
Hi.
And the special guest who will be interviewing today is Mr. Billy West. Thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure. Hi.
So it is an absolute honor to have you here. Of course, as many followers of the podcast will know, that you voice Shaggy and Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, along with a lot of other characters. But I want to get to the start of your career, and just going through IMDb, I can see that your voice acting career and your acting career really kick-started in 1988. But before that, what was the catalyst that drove you into the acting profession?
When I got out of high school, I had a band. I started playing music, and I was always behind a microphone. And I used to mess around on stage, in between songs, or if we broke a string or something, I would start acting out, just doing stuff on the microphone. And I got into radio shortly after that. I worked in Boston. It was 1980. I was working in radio in Boston, and I was writing my own stuff, and I was recording and doing characters. And, it was a good environment. It was a great place. It was a morning show. And then I was there for a few years doing that. And then I moved to New York City and started working with the Howard Stern show. And I was also auditioning for stuff going on in New York, commercials and cartoons. And, that's kind of how it started. I just was auditioning for everything once I got to New York.
And were there any actors that you looked up to when you were growing up that maybe influenced your career?
Yes. There were a few. One was a guy named Dawes Butler. He did voices for Hanna-Barbera. Another guy was Don Messick. He did Hanna-Barbera voices. Mel Blanc, of course. Bugs Bunny and all the other Warner Brothers characters that he did. Trying to think of who. Oh, June Foray, voice actress, she was just incredible. She was so versatile, and I got a chance to work with her. Actually, I worked with her a few times when she was still alive.
Well, that's definitely incredible influences. You did mention there Mel Blanc, who was part of the Looney Tunes, and you also voiced Elmer Fudd in various Looney Tunes projects, such as Back in Action.
Yes.
What was it like working on that movie?
Well, I worked with the same group of voice actors, basically, that I worked with in Space Jam, where I did Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. And they got to work with Michael Jordan too, Doc. And be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits. It was basically a group of voice actors. I've met Brendan Fraser, but not on that movie. Because you don't see them. You don't get to see them. They put all the character stuff in the movie, the live action, after you do it.
Yeah, see, it's such an iconic opening scene where your Elmer is going through that whole kind of dialogue where they're like, it's duck season, no, it's rabbit season, and there's quite a lot of good back and forth there between all the characters. So in terms of Looney Tunes Back in Action, was that a movie that or the cast kind of recorded in a group, or was it all separate recordings from your part?
I recall that they had about 4 or 5 of us, and then we would do scenes. We'd do scenes together. In the recording studio. There would be me and 2 other people, or me and another person, kind of, mix and match.
So that's really interesting. I think you did an absolutely fantastic job with that whole chemistry side of things. And I guess Oh, thank you. I guess speaking a bit about the behind of the scenes of that, when we spoke with Bob Bergen a few months ago, he mentioned that he provided the voice of Tweety and then that was kind of switched out last minute. So do you recall if there were any characters that you voiced that were maybe switched out or changed a bit?
On Back in Action?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to be doing Bugs Bunny for Back in Action, but they decided to go with an actor named Joe Alasky. This was kind of last minute stuff, but I continued to do Elmer Fudd.
And do you have any favorite memories from your time working on Looney Tunes just in general?
Well, let's see. I did meet Michael Jordan when I did Space Jam, and I was thrilled to meet him. You know, he was so tall, and his agent got his attention, and we were standing near him. There was about 20 people around him, and his agent said, "Michael, this is Billy West." And Michael reached over like 6 people and shook my hand. That was pretty funny.
We see that you have attended quite a few fan conventions over the years. Have you ever been asked to sign anything particularly memorable?
I enjoy them all. I enjoy doing all of them. I like meeting the people that I meet. There is not one narcissist at any of these conventions. It's all empaths and, you know, people on the autism spectrum and Asperger's. And I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm a high functioning, you know, autistic, and I always was. But those kind of things, you know, you have powers, superpowers you don't even realize sometimes. And then one day you discover what it is. And, you know, when I was a kid, I just did voices and made noises, and I was always being told to shut up, and, you know.
Well, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess a bit of a selfish question now, you know, us all being from the UK, I mean, has the fan convention experience ever taken you to England, or would you ever consider coming here again at any point?
Yes, I've been a few times, and I would look forward to going again. I enjoy traveling. I think the fan expos are great, and it gives me a chance to talk to people and meet people, you know, and I thank them. They can tell that I'm appreciative of them.
That's incredible. It'd be an absolute pleasure to meet you in person. Like, I know that there's quite a few going on in England at the moment, so that's definitely something to hopefully, fingers crossed, look forward to one day. I guess speaking about, I mean, we've spoken a lot about Looney Tunes, and of course, that's definitely a franchise where people kind of come in and out of roles. But in terms of you, when it comes to preparing to do a certain role, does it ever impact you, either from a point of view of pressure or preparation, if the character's already been voiced by someone else prior?
I look at it always as the same. I approach everything the same way. You know, you go to a character, and if you have the job, it's your job to just, you know, be on the ball and pay attention and listen to other actors and be, you know, spiritually generous as a performer. And you know, it's also the respect you have for everyone else that shines through. And I hold all my peers in the highest regard.
Absolutely, because I guess from the point of view of viewers, it sometimes that whole situation with cast changing over doesn't always work out, but I think whenever you've taken over a role, it's been absolutely perfect. And one role that absolutely comes to mind is Muttley. I know you've been doing that for a while now, starting with the PS2 game, but how did it work out with you? Like, how did that process come about with you taking over the role as Muttley?
I got hired to do it, and the hardest part of it is that Muttley was like, he had asthma or something. He was asthmatic, and he had this wheezing laugh, and I had trouble doing it when I could do the growling and the rumbling and the mumbling and stuff, but to do the laugh, I had to fake it. I had to go like, you know, And it's not like that. It's more like, but I didn't have the wheeze then like I do now. I guess it's called being 71 years old. Well, if I do it again, I'll do it the right way.
Yeah, and your most recent performance of Muttley was in the Scoob movie in 2020.
Yes.
How did your work on that movie come about? Because I know a lot of the characters in that film from Hanna-Barbera quite controversially weren't voiced by who they normally are.
Right. I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know. I do know that I don't go for stunt casting. Like I don't go for celebrity voice casting. You know, just because somebody's famous doesn't mean that they should be the voice of a you know, a legacy character. I don't get it when they do that. It just seems silly. But you know, I mean, if more and more movies are going to be made CGI and animation, and there's less and less live action, God forbid we can't lose our precious star system, you know, so they have to have them doing voices of cartoons. And, you know, that was a day I hope would never come. I mean, it's just anti-art, you know, it's anti what a cartoon is for, is that you're supposed to be able to change yourself. You're supposed to be able to inhabit many characters and have your voice physically change. And a lot of those celebs are not voice actors. You know, they're famous for being them. So when they do a character, it's kind of anemic. I don't know. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that or talk about it. I mean, everybody kind of knows how I feel, is that we work really, really hard at being able to adjust and to be able to retool and you know, disintegrate who and what we are and reintegrate as whatever it is that character is. And you know, I think we're artisans, we're craftspeople, and we have a specialty. So when they go casting celebrities, see, when I was growing up, like celebrities weren't my heroes. I hate to say it, you know, my heroes were artists, you know, like composers and sculptors and painters, and, you know, so my respect for the art comes first and foremost.
Yeah, and in terms of iconic, obviously voice actors, I know in the Scoob movie, it's said that for Muttley, as well as you, they also used archive audio from Don Messick. I was just wondering, do you know which parts of Muttley were you and which were from the archive?
Yes, it was the wheezing, the laughing wheezing. I couldn't do it justice, and I said to them, "Hey, you know what? You should use Don Messick's wheezing, laughing," and then he combined it with what I had done, which was like razzle, frazzle, razzle, razzle, frazzle. Yeah.
Well, it was a perfect mashup, both incredible voice actors. Continue with Scooby theme. You voiced Shaggy, Rogers and Scooby on Zombie Island. How did that work come about?
You know, everything comes about because you audition for it. Like there was a casting call and they wanted somebody to do Shaggy. I had done a few of those cartoons before as a different character here and there. And I'd been at those sessions, and I remember Casey Kasem. The problem they were having with him originally was that he'd be like, "Come on, Scoob, let's get a Scooby snack, a nice hot dog." And he would go, why does it always have to be meat? You know, he would get militant about it, and because he was a vegetarian. And I think they finally said, you know what, we gotta find somebody else. And you know, he didn't want to do it anymore, and it was a whole thing.
Prior to your work on Zombie Island, how familiar were you with the Scooby franchise?
Well, you know, I was a working musician. I was a full-grown adult, you know, out there in the world, and so I didn't really watch cartoons at that point. You're talking like late 60s, early 70s, and
yeah,
I was aware of it, but I didn't sit religiously in front of it and watch it all the time. So I did do my homework when it was time to do the assignment. I watched plenty of it, and,
See, it's interesting that you mentioned that. And so, to that end, when embarking on that role, to what extent were you kind of just trying to bring your spin off that Shaggy voice, and to what extent were you maybe trying to hit the same vocal beats like Casey Kasem did before that?
I was trying to be faithful to it, and then if something comes through of my own because of performance, I mean, you're saying things that character never said before, so you're not sure how they would say it. So you have to be interpretive of it and try to translate it, into a current performance. And, I try to be as faithful as I could.
Well, you did an absolutely incredible job. I really did wish that they'd had you on a few more, but I think your dynamic, the way you just seamlessly fit into that cast, was incredible as well. And when you think about Zombie Island, apart from, of course, yourself, you think about names such as Mary Kay Bergman, Frank Welker, of course. So did you record with them in that? And do you have any memories behind the scenes of that, perhaps?
I'm in awe of Frank Welker. I've worked with Frank many, many times, and he's like a force of nature. I mean, he has control over every chamber in his body when it comes to being able to make sound and voices and noises. He's incredible to watch, and he has my undying respect, really. Mary Kay was really a great actress, and she was fun to be around. And I worked with a couple of things. I think we did a show called Spy Dogs. I think she was on that. And, I enjoyed her while she was around. I enjoyed her very much.
And do you have any favorite memories from doing Zombie Island that you can share with us?
Favorite memories. Let's see. The sessions were a lot of fun. There was, people like Jim Cummings. I think he might have been in on the sessions. It's so long ago. The sessions were interesting, and the directors were having a lot of fun with us. But the best thing I remember about that session was it was the last recording session that was ever done at the old Hanna-Barbera studios. And we were basically going to close the place after that. And they were shuttering up the place, and they said, if anybody wants anything, that was laying around, I go in the office, and there were Rolodexes from the old days that had like everybody's names, all the actors, their home phone numbers, people who didn't exist anymore. And I just thought, what a keepsake. So I grabbed as much stuff as I could.
Oh, I don't blame you at all. And also, Zombie Island, it's known for being sort of a more darker take on the Scooby franchise. And I was just wondering, what's your take on the idea of an adult-centric Scooby Doo, or even just adult animation in general? I mean, obviously, I know you do Futurama, which is considered an adult animation.
Yeah, it's kind of for everybody, but I'm thinking there is an adult version of Scooby Doo out. It's called Velma. And I don't know much about it. I don't know how well it's being received. I haven't seen it. I mean, that's an adult version of Scooby Doo, from what I understand. But I did not partake in it in any way. I wasn't in it.
No, it's not been received too well at all, to be honest. But I mean, the same can't be said for Zombie Island, because this year actually marks the 25th anniversary. And so, I mean, the movie is pretty much exactly as old as I am. And And so to that end, I do just want to thank you for displaying that Shaggy voice here for us today, because we would never in a million years ask you to do that. But because of the love that
Please.
we have for the movie, I actually brought tears to my eyes. So thank you so much for doing that. So what's it feel like to be part of a movie that is so beloved, on its 25th anniversary year?
I think it's I feel proud to be part of a legacy like that. I also wanted to say that I noticed that a lot of people enjoyed the soundtrack. It was really, the soundtrack was killer, and it was kind of dark, it was like Terror Time is such a cool song.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that Zombie Island's like a work of art. Given that you have revisited the world of Scooby Doo since Zombie Island, if Matthew Lillard were to ever retire from the role, would voicing Shaggy again appeal to you?
I'm around when they put out casting calls and they're looking for voices. I'll audition for stuff. I look forward to anything that I do because I just want to make it good. If they put out a notice that they wanted to do those characters again, it's always fun to partake. It's always fun to be part of, especially something historical like that.
Well, as we said, you were an incredible Shaggy, so second to none. As we said, you have had roles in multiple Scooby projects, such as Mystery Incorporated, Be Cool Scooby Doo, and Scooby Doo and Guess Who. Do you have any memories from working on them shows?
I just remember just trying to be as faithful as I could with whatever I did. And if I was doing an incidental character, I try to make it memorable. I try to give it some kind of quirk or some kind of thing that people would remember. That it's very difficult to remember one-off roles, but there was one where I was doing kind of an impersonation of the guy that played Marty McFly's father in Back to the Future, Crispin Glover, I think his name was. And, they wanted a character that was sort of like him. And I was trying to do that character, but, it's just, they're all, you're a day player, you get hired for a day and that's your job. And, hundreds and hundreds of days go by and it's tough to remember details about every single one of them.
Absolutely. And I'm very curious to know, like, with your amazing career and your massive filmography, clearly you've got quite a lot of experience and wisdom with a lot of these things. So is there any advice that you'd give to someone watching this that perhaps is looking to get into the kind of acting business for themselves?
Well, I always see, people nowadays really, really are keen to do voices for animated shows. And I think it's wonderful. I encourage people. I always say that we're saving a seat for you. And I, tell people that you have to have passion. You got to stay passionate and you have to be inspired. You always have to have an inspiration that pushes you forward and it keeps you excited and keeps you open and fresh and vibrant to taking on roles and, running with them and doing amazing things with them.
That is incredible. It's definitely fair to say that we've really, really loved all the stuff that you've done in the past as well. But of course, no doubt there's a lot of exciting projects to get into in the future. So to that end, is there any upcoming projects that you're working on or have worked on that are yet to come out that you can share with us today, please?
I'm still doing Futurama. We're returning. The show is coming back. And it was great to go back and do the characters again. And, I'm also doing another Matt Groening show, which is called Disenchantment, and I do a few characters on there. And I have so much fun with those folks. I think Matt is just absolutely brilliant. There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said about him. Legend creator, just to be able to create that many characters is just mind-blowing to me. It's awe-inspiring.
And are there any like projects in like genres or characters that maybe you've not been able to explore yet that you're hoping to in the future?
I can't think of any. I mean, I'm always up and open for whatever comes along, and I will always try to do 1,000% with it. I never want to, have a character that's a throwaway. I think that they should all be special, just like people are,
And is there any place online where people watching can keep up with your work at all?
I have a Twitter, which is at the Billy West, and I'm on Facebook, Billy West. And I visit Twitter way more often and chat with people whenever I can, and try to keep putting up notices, about what to look for, if there's anything new coming, or anything like a convention coming up.
That is absolutely incredible, and like we say, we're gonna hopefully look out for that UK appearance and hope and pray that happens. But I guess that's all of the questions that we did have down for you today. Just once more, thank you so much for all the work you've done and for being so generous with your time today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, it is incredible, and like we say, it's incredible to share the 25th anniversary of Scooby Doo on Zombie Island with you. It's definitely a big year for that movie, but also it's such a pleasure to have you here today because this is our 75th episode special, so it does mean the world to have you here. And thank you so much to Dan and Sophie for joining us as well. And I guess just to wrap things up, thank you so much to everyone for joining. You can find everyone's links in the descriptions down below. And if you do want to see more episodes, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.